Fitting the countertop is the trickiest bit of the alcove units, and it's also the most high stakes thing, because if you cock it up it's quite hard to hide, and we don't generally send you a spare countertop. Now there's different ways of doing it, and we've done it in different ways, including using a cardboard template. My view on this kind of thing is I don't mind too much how you do it, as long as you understand the principles behind it and you get the result you need. So I'll show you one way of doing it, and I'll show you the principles about how we designed it. So first thing you need to know is these are sized to have a 20mm overhang on the front edge and on the edge that's near the chimney breast. That edge is finished with the moulded profile routed to past the point where it's needed. The other edge, the other end I should say, doesn't have a profile on it. So this will of course be a mirror image for a unit on the other side of the chimney breast. So what you need to remember is this edge and this edge are like your fixed points to measure off, because however you cut to fit around here, they want to end up 20mm over here and 20mm over here. So my starting point is I'll put tape on so I can draw on it, and I've placed it so it's in the same position because it's just easier to visualise then. Then I know that I've got a 20mm overhang off this edge of the unit, which come close to here, James. So I can put my tape measure there, and then I can reference that to my cut here is about 33mm. So I can then transfer that onto here. 20mm is the overhang, so that is where the edge of the unit's going to be, and then round about 33mm is that face of the wall. Then we need to think about where that face comes. So we've got from the wall to this front edge is 105mm, add on the 20, 125mm. So that now is that corner of the wall, and I will usually just estimate the curve, and then we just square that off. The way to get this shape of the wall quite accurate is then to reference off that, which you know is a nice straight edge. The wall more often than not has a bit of a bow in it. So what we can do is, we know that we've got a 20mm overhang, we've then got 36mm of two 18mm thicknesses there. So that's going to be 56mm to the edge of the unit itself, the inner carcass edge. So I often do this first and I forgot. 56mm. We can give ourselves a nice straight guide reference line then. Now this is why I shade for the waist, because sometimes we end up with a couple of lines and you want to know what you're cutting. So I know that this line is going to correspond to that edge of the unit there. And this will serve as a bit of a double check for this mark, because I can measure back off that. So there towards the front edge we've got 25mm. I'm going to mark that off as 23, giving me 2mm for caulking gap, just general tolerance. And that is around about right. And I'll usually just do front, middle and back. So that reads as 24, so I will make that 22, round about the middle. So 22. It's about there. And then off the back, its reading is about 27, so I mark that as 25. The back's going to land about there. So 25, I'm just using the 10 because I can hold it flat. Now if I join those up, considering again that we've got cork, decorator's cork to fill in some inaccuracy, I'm pretty confident that's going to be about right. And I'm shading that to be absolutely sure that I'm making the right cut. Now on the other side, usually these are sized so you've got a 20mm scribing allowance on that side as well. So really the full-size piece is overhanging the finished unit by 20mm. That's not quite accurate. So it's overhanging the unit plus the spacers by 20mm, or theoretically the unit plus the gap. But that 20mm gives you the tolerance because when you fit it in the space, it's not always bang on central. So you start by doing this because you're referencing off that finished edge. You can then measure back off that to your wall this side, and there's a couple of ways of doing that. One way is you don't have to use a laser measure, but it's a little bit easier and more accurate. I'm just doing a sort of training video for another fitter, it's alright. So we've got 1087 over off of that wall, which is that line. 1087. I'm going to take 2mm off that. 185. And then same again, middle and front edge. 184 in the middle, which becomes 1082. Now it is worth doing it by another method at the front. I'll just trace those along because you often find that the wall kicks in a bit or something like that, and you haven't got any wall to measure off here. So it can just be worth taking the time plotting the outline of the unit, both right and left. So we've got a unit width of 1019 by the looks of it. And we know that this line that I did before was the side of the unit. That was this reference line, so I can just go off that 1019, and that gives me another reference point. And mixing methods like this acts as a bit of a double check. Yeah, so this line and this line is my unit, my carcass edges. So a little double check for this cut line, just measure off that again. That's reading as about 42, which I'll make about 40, just reading off the 10. Well, it is measuring about 42. I'll cut it at that and then I can adjust it if I need to rather than going wrong. 41. That is measuring about the same, so you know I'm confident that's not going to be a total cock up. We then get to the front and we just want to be sure that the wall hasn't kicked away, leaving a gap at our most visible part. So we're going to then measure off that reference line, and in fact we've got 40 again, so it's fairly parallel, so we'll just run that through that 40 measurement. Shading to show that's the cut line, and then we've got the back to do as well. So we've got our sides cut, so that should just slip in. You'll usually find that the piece that you get is quite a lot deeper than it needs to be, just because we usually cut it from a half board, because we can't really use a little offcut for much. So you may find you're cutting quite a lot more than the usual 20mm scribe allowance off the back of that. And that's quite a simple matter. You want to measure from the wall to the front, which is 46 centimetres, and add on your 20mm overhang. So we've got 48. The other thing I wanted to mention was that these holes, we cut these in the workshop because we've got formulas to place them exactly where they should be, because we know that you'll be referencing off this finished edge. We know how deep the unit is and everything. We can fairly accurately pre-cut them and know that they'll land in the corners where they should. So unless the back is very obviously at a crazy kind of wiggle, we'll do left end, middle and right end, and it's looking like it's going to be a very consistent cut. So with the 20mm overhang, you've got the same measurement again. That tapers in a little bit, it's 5mm, 0.75. Once again, I just want to be absolutely clear which is the cut line and where the waist is. Right, so I'll cut that with a rail saw, with a little bit of coping saw here, and then we'll offer it up and I'll show you the next stage of fitting that. So yeah. I'm expecting this to be a bit tight. Let's see. Now we've got those brackets at the back, of course. Just a bit of grit, I think. Now the way I do all those brackets is I just shove it in, indent against them. Should have a nice little indent of the screw head there, so I can cut that deeper with the Forstner bit, and that'll let it go a bit tighter to the wall. Yeah, alright. So I showed you knocking in the screw heads, and I said I'd cut them out with the Forstner bit. Brady quite sensibly pointed out that we may as well just hack them out with the coping saw, just on a spar. Like that, so that's what we've done, and it is fitting, so I'm pretty pleased. Off the first cut it did fit, but it's just a little bit off what I'd like it to be, because this gap is a bit bigger really than I'd like to cork. So the way I can fix that is, I don't really mind if that 20mm overhang ends up reducing a bit. So I can bring this gap in by moving the whole thing back, which I can do by a scribe to the back, which I'll do by taking my biggest gap and just spacing the pencil off my fingernail. So I'm just holding it like that and running my nail against the wall. So I'll be taking that bit off that's jamming against the corner, a slight bulge here. And I can see just by eye that that's going to be plenty to bring it tight to the front. What I might actually do is, when I come to cutting it, not even cut quite as much off, but just use it as a guide. And then this gap here, which is bigger also than I'd like it to be, because it's very tight that side, and I'd rather it wasn't that tight, because I'd like to have about 2mm to make sure that the cork really goes in, because you'll get a better finish then than a gap that's so tight you can't get any cork in, you get a black line. So I'll do the same. Just to take that bulge off here, which might seem counterintuitive, but it will mean that I can then even the gap and shunt that a little bit closer and have an even gap both sides. So we'll stop filming that, but then I'll cut that and show the result. So this is the end result just before putting the decorator's cork on. I've made those trims that I've mentioned, and those gaps now are a lot more even. They don't need to be tight, as I said before, they just need to be a couple of millimetres. That'll be good for fixing with cork. And then next step is I'm going to screw it from the bottom with these Craig screws, which self-tap and pull nice and tight with the pan head. So a few of them all along, a couple of metal brackets at the back just to put it tight to the back panel of the carcass. You can see how the cable outlet's landed just where we planned it to. And a couple of other comments on the base cabinet. We'll put a post in the middle over a certain span, because we'll only use MDF if we're absolutely sure it's going to span and not have any sag in it. We do use solid wood and birch ply on other jobs as well, but we want to make sure everything is rigid and not going to look a bit tired after use. It all wants to stay nice and straight and clean. So next job, corking those gaps, possibly a bit of paint, but we're really trying to minimise the painting now because we're using a sprayed finish. When we brush onto the edges, it's not such a smooth finish as the spray, so if we're careful with the corking, we'll really try and minimise any extra spraying.